me tell you a little story. A long time ago, there was this fella, and he came to me, and he said, "Luke, I'm getting pushed around by hostile foreigners all the time. I don't know what to do." And I was like, "I know just the thing." I said, "What's your email?" So he gave me his email. I started receiving my emails and opening them and listening to Imminent Rain. Years later, he became really famous for almost single-handedly defending his kingdom against hordes of hostile invaders. You might have heard of him. Most people know him as Vladimir.
Promethean hails so hard.
Prometian hails so hard.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a bro. Over the years, Bro started noticing that things weren't right with the world. Most of the people around him didn't notice the things he noticed. They were deficient in Bro noticer traits. Bro started to feel alone, and the best parts of life started to lose their love. But then one day, Bro stumbled upon an Imminent Rain video. He clicked on the link, signed up for the email list, and received his free song, So Hard. Bro noticed, when he listened to Imminent Rain, that Luke Mason was another bro like him, who noticed the same things. Not only that, but Luke's music awakened a part of his spirit that had been asleep for a very long time. Bro left his black pills behind and fully dedicated himself to fighting the good fight in spite of the global goblins who ruled his world from the shadows and their many soulless minions. Bro was inspired by the glorious aesthetic of folkish metal. He got busy. He did the work. He overcame his obstacles. Today, he looks back and ponders how much his life changed the day he signed up for Luke Mason's email list.
Well, howdy, everybody. I hope you're all doing well today. That was Luke Mason, Imminent Rain. He's funny, he's clever, he's a great artist, he's a kick-ass metal, excuse me, he's a kick-ass metal musician. I really like Luke Mason. He's a friend of the channel, he's a friend of the White Well-Being community, and also, most importantly, he's funny, and I really like him. So, if you want to check him out, excuse me, if you want to check him out, you can find him at Imminent Rain. I put the link to this video as well as you can get his channel from there in all of the chats. So definitely go check him out. I see we have a lot of usuals in the chat today. Howdy, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'd like to remind you that this stream is supported only by viewers like you. I, of course, am not endorsed by the YouTube algorithm, nor am I part of their cancerous payment program. So I never get a dime from YouTube, only from people like you. And I would deeply appreciate it if even $1 a month you could support the channel. I have a subscribe star. Many people support me there. And if you could help me reach my next goal of $500 a month, that would be appreciated, even if you only donate $1 a month. Excuse me. Just give me a second here. I am having an issue. Restream is telling me that we're not live, but I know that that's false because I'm watching it on YouTube Play right now. Restream, what's your deal, my friend? Why are you so weird? Why are you so gay? All right. Anyway, assuming that we are live, and this is this did not break on Restream's end. I'm just going to continue. So I put as the pinned comment in the YouTube chat, entropy. Now, I will be stopping every 30 minutes or so, every 20 or 30 minutes, to see what community engagement we have on entropy for my guest. Whenever I have one-on-ones with the guest on Corner Club, I like to get input, links, memes, questions for my guest from my community to see what you guys want to ask them. And today I have not just a friend of mine, but a longtime follower of my content, someone who is a health and fitness professional that works for a professional sport ball team in the United States. And since I'm trying to be healthier, live a better life, get in better shape like I was years ago before the scamdemic and the post-Trump insanity years, I want to have on someone to help me along my way. And I thought, you know what? This lady can probably help a lot of people get started on living a healthier, more fit life. And so I wanted to make a whole stream about it. So that's what we're doing today. And I have one more thing. Something else I was going to say. Oh yes, the reason that the stream of Luke Mason's video is a little shoddy today is I was having to live stream in a stream. I won't be able to go back into my house until tomorrow because of a pipe issue. Things are getting fixed. And also my work laptop, the one I usually work on that has all my software and my setup, it's being held up in the shop because, like I bitched about last night on stream, it got the wrong part sent in to fix it. So I won't be able to get it back till at the earliest the end of this week. So until then, I'm having to stream on a machine in a place where I'm not used to. It's very frustrating. I apologize for that, but the show must go on. And speaking of the show must going on, we have my friend, TheAlabastard, ready to come in. I'm going to bring her in right now. Wheezy, thank you for being here with me today. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Iz.
Glad that you are here. Now, I appreciate you talking to me about health and fitness, and I definitely appreciate you being willing to answer my questions in proper interview format, and hopefully inspire my audience to take the first step, or if they're already taken the first step, take more steps on the path to a healthier way of living involving fitness and diet. So, before we get started with my questions and our discussion, please take a few minutes. Tell me about who you are. Why you are the woman you are today, and why you care so much about health and fitness.
Well, when I was a kid, about the age of 9, I started playing the sport of hockey. So it was mostly because my dad was a cop, and every year the cops versus the firefighters hockey game happened. So I would always be on the ice practicing with him. Since I was old enough to stand up, I was on a pair of skates, and I love the sport. I've participated in sports throughout my entire life. When I wasn't doing hockey, I was doing roller derby, which is where the Alabastard was my character. And so I've always been involved in health and fitness. And when I was about 16, I had an injury where a sports massage therapist pretty much, you know, that saved my career. So I decided I was going to get involved in that in some capacity. I started out with sports massage, worked my way up and got my exercise therapy degree. And about 8 years ago, I was became contracted to an NHL franchise. And I'm on their physiotherapy team, helping their athletes recover from injuries with a combination of massage, physical training, and personal training and physical therapy. So that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. That was an excellent intro. It's like you've done this before. Have you? Now I know you've been on several streams before with people in our clusters, like especially Bill over at All Minus One. I remember that talk you had with him. I listened to most of. Do you do public speaking or in a more private setting? Do you do speaking about health and fitness in your career?
I do. There's a couple classes at a local college that I teach. So
fantastic. Then you are definitely qualified for these simple things I want to talk to you about today. Before we get started, I would like to invite everyone. TheAlabastard lost her primary Twitter account, like so many of us have, and now she is known as TheAlabastard over on Twitter. And that is, of course, going to be shared in the chat right now if you'd like to follow her. She likes to come up and have fun like I do. She likes to share funny memes and cute videos of pets and stuff. A good, wholesome Twitter account to follow. She also likes heavy metal and the kind of cool fantasy fiction and sci-fi stuff that we like here on this channel. So give her a follow. Before we get started, is there anything you want to shill, Wheezy? Any particular groups or blogs you might have that you want people to follow?
I generally don't, yeah, because most of the ones that I follow are all part of this sphere and everybody knows each other. So we're kind of
Okay.
incestuous that way.
Yeah. And I knew that you weren't a content creator. I just didn't know if there was a particular thing that was important to you wanted to shill. I ask all my guests that before we get started. So since we're about a quarter past the hour, let's go ahead and get started with the things I want to talk about today. The first thing I'd like to talk to you about today is just basic exercise routines that will work for regular Americans. And before you start giving answers, let me preface that with my own experience. I was very active when I was young. I loved martial arts. I loved tennis. I loved track and field. I loved what the non-Americans call football, what was called soccer. I loved swimming. I was a very athletic, very physically active youth. Then in my 20s, I tried to carry on some of that, but of course you have to work. Life goes crazy. You try to build relationships, etc. So I sort of fell out of most of that. Then I realized by the end of my 20s, I was getting out of shape. So I became a gym nut. I had I know that they're paused as hell, but I had a Planet Fitness membership for many years, and I would go there 3, 4, sometimes 5 days a week, and I was in great shape until about 3 years ago. I was in the same kind of shape and the same weight and body measurements I was when I was 18 years old doing all my athletics. So I kept myself up pretty well. But with the lockdowns, with the mental and spiritual bashing we get from the anti-white narrative, with all the ugly disenfranchisement going on from corporate interests and corrupt government and all this garbage, I have had a very unhealthy last 3 years. And I would like to start getting back to that. But living here in my rural area, there's not a Planet Fitness. There's not even a gym I can go to. A lot of Americans might be in a similar place right now because of life situation or finances. And I wanted to talk to you about not just what people can do in general for exercise, but a way that they can do muscle training, fitness training, if they don't have access to thousands of dollars to buy their own equipment, or maybe don't have access to a top quality gym. So in light of what all I just shared there, can you start talking to me about some basics of regular healthy exercise routines that normal people can do?
Oh, I myself don't even belong to a gym. Most of them
Okay.
are just gyms are great if you are someone who wants to compete in figure competitions. They're really designed. The problem with the fitness industry in the United States is in 1977 the film Pumping Iron came out.
Uh-huh.
And people started realizing, oh, I can build my muscles. And then on top of that, just right on the heels of that came the whole aerobics craze. So much of the fitness industry that we have in the United States is based on fads. So you don't need a gym at all. Like I do it right in my living room. I have just a
Okay.
set of adjustable dumbbells. You can even get a set of pull-up bands, super cheap on Amazon, and that's all you have to do. And the biggest thing that you can do is go on to YouTube, look up videos on what's known as Tabata. It's an exercise method created by Dr. Izumi Tabata, and it's basically 20 seconds of super fast intensity, really going hard, 10 seconds of rest, and you repeat the cycle with various exercises. And that's something you can do with absolutely no equipment whatsoever. And
Okay.
it's a
I
really
found,
good form of exercise.
certainly with a quick search, I found something called the 4-minute HIIT Tabata workout with Ash
Uh-huh.
Crawford. Is that something you would recommend, or do you not know what that is?
I'm not familiar with Ash Crawford, but I'm sure that
Okay.
what I normally do, my normal routine for like a Tabata. Let me just have a look at my workout log from just this morning. So
Okay.
what it's again, it's 20 seconds of high intensity, just going hard into the the exercise, and 10 seconds of rest, and you do that for 4 minutes. And so this morning I did burpees, jump squats, lateral
Mhm.
slides, reverse lunges, mountain climbers, scissor kicks, Spider-Man's, which is a type of ab exercise, push-ups, Russian twists, and then I did my cool down. And
Okay.
that's about 45 minutes.
Okay. And so since obviously myself and most of my listeners won't know what you're talking about, that sounds similar to the martial arts exercises we would do called physio torture, where it would be fast, high impact. What you call mountain climbers is we would put our fists on the ground like we were going to do a fist push up, and then we would. It was like we were bouncing up and down, kicking our knees up to our chest one at a time.
Yep,
for like
that's
30
exactly
or
what it
40
is. Yeah. Mhm.
And when I did heavy martial arts training for most of my youth, we would do what you just talked about, burst physio, and then take short breaks. And then after a long period of that, we would do long, slow stretches, more like Tai Chi and yoga type stuff. So with the Tabata workout method, what kind of stretches or build up and cool down period do you do around those little cardio bursts?
Well, it depends on what I've been training that day. So, I mean, I just mobility movements mostly. So like I'll reach down and I'll put my arms up and I'll go and I'll touch one toe. I'll do kind of like jumping jacks where you do it but you're just stepping next to each other instead of doing a real one, and just swinging your arms, all kinds of it just depends. And again, you can find
Okay.
most of these workouts on YouTube for beginners, and they're really good because you work up a real sweat, but you don't feel it in the moment. That's kind of
Okay.
why I like them. That's
Okay.
why I like.
Is there a content creator or channel or even single video that you can recommend to help us get started on learning that type of technique that we can share here today?
For the absolute beginners, I don't really tend to go on YouTube that much. There's a couple of them, unfortunately, that I used to like. Their channels no longer exist, and I
Okay.
don't know if they're victims of the algorithm. But my mother personally, because she has a lot of joint issues, she likes this woman who's called the Burpee Girl, I think. And she does things where they're no impact. So if you have joint issues, and she can follow along with them, and they're not very weird movements, or but she does similar styles of workouts.
Okay. I'm going to look up the Burpee Girl YouTube here real quick. That sounds cute. The
And my
Burpee
mom
Girl.
really likes her. Her and her best friend are roommates in a assisted living facility, and they do these workouts every day. And I guess she posts them like every 2 days or something.
Okay, cool. Then I put that link in the chat for people. Also, Tabata, I'm going to type the name of the guy because I looked it up how to spell it. Azumi Tabata, and it's called Tabata Fitness. I'm typing both of these into the chat right now so you guys can see them. Give me just a second because I have to type it in a whole bunch of chats. And there we go. I'm going to be putting it on Entropy, YouTube, Odyssey, and
another
DLive.
person you want to follow if you want to try to learn how to use resistance bands really well, it's James Grage, who owns the Undersun Fitness brand. I think his bands are a little overpriced when you can get the same things on Amazon for like $25. But his way of showing you how to do the exercises with the pull-up bands is spot on. So
Okay, James Grage, Undersun Fitness.
fitness, yes.
Undersun Fitness. Okay. Now, the reason that we're going kind of slow here, dear listener, is this stream is actually for me too. So I'm actually making my own notes as we go. And I thought this would be a fun exercise, pun intended, we could do together today, is learning about health and fitness together as I learn about it to apply in my life. So I typed in, James Grage, Undersun Fitness in all the chats. So we'll have that to look into later. So you said that this is a person that you can learn from about resistance fitness bands. Now, I've seen these used, but I've never used them. These are the ones that you like put around your knees or your ankles or your wrists, and you do resistance with your own body movements.
Yes, they were originally designed to help assist with pull-ups, but most fitness professionals find them to be better than the regular resistance bands with the handles because the resistance is much more even throughout as you're doing the movements. So I find them for resistance band work to be much, much better than traditional resistance bands.
Okay, and what are they called again?
Pull-up bands.
Pull up, Pull, pull up bands.
Yep.
Pull up bands. Okay. Right. And I'm putting that in all the chats as well. So pull-up bands, you say, are a more affordable than buying the ones from Undersun Fitness.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
All
obviously
right.
he's got his own brand and he markets them as a little bit more, but you can get them on Amazon at pretty much. I think you can get an entire set for like $30. It's not that expensive, and it's very affordable for the average person. So
I see Mrs. Jess Horst and Joshua Ham, good friends of mine in the chat. First, Josh says, did we used to call this kind of thing calisthenics, or am I wrong about that?
it's a form of calisthenics, but it's calisthenics married with high intensity interval training. So
Okay.
yeah, yes and no.
So now, when I was young, they called that burst cardio. Is that the incorrect term to use now?
It's just we just I think it's because Tabata perfected the practice that we basically just
Mm.
refer. Most professionals refer to it as Tabata training.
Oh, okay. So sort of like how a known name in a field, things get named after them. That's why you just call it Tabata now.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's kind of like how
Next, Miss.
everybody associates bodybuilding with Arnold. It's just one of those
Oh,
things
I
that
see.
happens.
Okay. All right. And sort of like people associate 90s Broncos with OJ Simpson. Okay, maybe that was a bad joke. Anyway, um,
Oof.
oof. Mrs. Jess Horst is in the chat, and she and I are about the same age. And Mrs. Jess Horst, do you live near East Tennessee? If you do, we might could be workout buddies, but I don't think you do. I think you live somewhere else. But Mrs. Jess Horst and I are nearly the same age, and we have similar since the scamdemic happened. We each have had detrimental effects to our workout routines, and we could be excellent workout buddies. And if
But
she,
you're not alone. That happened to a lot of people. A lot of
oh,
people
she
relied
says
on
she
the
lives in
gym.
California. She's actually closer to you.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah, and yeah, Josh, definitely. We'll definitely if you want to come a day or early or stay a day late, I can show you around the area. Yes, we'll have the camp out soon. Oh no, Josh isn't coming. He was talking about somebody else. All right, I'll stop eyeballing chat. I have a lot of friends here talking today, so it's very easy for me to get distracted. So anyway, moving back to the pull-up bands, the Undersun Fitness, the Tabata stuff. These are things that have a low cost of entry, and you can start doing the. You can learn from the videos that the woman that your mother likes for beginners. That would probably be where I would be at. Probably where most of my listeners will be at if they wanted to get invested or involved in this. You also mentioned something about adjustable free weights. I know how to use those. I have a couple of 3 pounds and a couple of 5 pounds that my mother had long ago that I've been using. And I just go to different positions and do, 15 or 20 reps of lightweight curls or stretches or whatever it's called, where you're working out the back of your arm muscles, then you work out your biceps, that kind of thing. I do a little bit of that just to try to stay in basic shape. Elaborate on that, and if that's even necessary or something you would recommend.
I do, because once you get to one of the things you need to do with workouts in order to get benefit out of them is you have to do progressive overload.
Okay.
So strength training is something that, like, with when you go with body weights, you kind of tap out after a certain point. I know that I personally have that. You get to the point where you're doing 2-hour workouts just to get the same effect. So
Okay.
that's when you start adding free weights. And as you
Okay.
get to a point where you can do about 20-25 reps, then you up it by a couple pounds, and you keep going from there. And you start off with, like, I'll start off with a weight that I tap out at like 8 reps with. And then I keep going until once I can get it to the 25, then I bring it up a little bit. It's
Okay.
progressive overload. That's how you improve. And the set
Okay.
that I got is a simple, like, it goes up to 50 pounds. And I bought them on, actually, at a yard sale for $30. So
Okay.
they're mismatched. They got a little bit of rust on the edges, but they're the handles, and then they have the actual weights. But this is stuff you can buy at like Walmart. And
Yeah.
again, Prime is my jam because, I think
Yeah.
everybody has Amazon at this point. So, and I have that and a cheap bench that I paid $50 for. So it's not like the entire setup is under $100 for me. So it's not.
Cool.
You can do that for cheap enough, and you don't need to do a lot with weights. It doesn't have to be really super excessive or.
Okay. So when it comes to the free weights, you would recommend a beginner not even fool with that yet, because they don't need the progressive resistance yet if they're just getting started with a regular fitness routine.
Yeah, I think you could just start with body weight, because one of the reasons why you want to start with body weight or really light weights is form, 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 form. You're not going to get anything out of your resistance training if you don't perfect your form first, because that's how you injure yourself. So when you start off, dead ass, just go body weight to begin with, just so you learn the movements and how to properly go through them.
Okay. Okay. So, what we've learned so far about getting started with physical fitness is, I'm going to recap, not just for the listeners, but for myself too, is the Tabata style burst workout is something that you can learn easily from many different videos, and you can do it on your own. It doesn't require any kind of equipment really, because you're just using like the stuff I used to do in martial arts. You don't have to have any physical equipment set up to do these things, correct?
Correct. You just
Okay.
they're body weight exercises, most of them.
And the reason that I need to ask is because, remember, I'm ignorant to the nomenclature. So when you say body weight, me and most of the listeners will think you're talking about some physical thing that you're holding. You're talking about using your own body as the weight.
Yes,
That's
your
what.
body
That's
is
what.
your gym.
Okay, cool. I just wanted, because if I don't know it, that means that probably a lot of my listeners wouldn't know it either, because we don't work in it like you do. So a lot of the terminology you use, we mightn't think is something wrong. That's why I wanted to ask. So moving from that,
There's
then
no such thing as a stupid question.
I know, only stupid people. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Um, well, thankfully, God blessed me, and I can be both. So anyway, the the resistance bands that you talked about, I know very little about that, but I assume from how I've seen them used, it's just a different kind of resistance to help build up your obliques and ligaments and stuff that might be harder to do without the bands. Is that the purpose of them?
It can be, and they can also be used in place of weights. So if
Okay.
purchasing a set of weights is too expensive, and because you have the weights, the bench, all of the stuff that goes with it, if that's too expensive, then pull-up bands are a more affordable alternative.
Okay. Okay. So, if I
And they're
think I'm going to
portable.
order some. I was going to say they also seem lightweight and easy to move around. So you could, let's say you work 9 to 5. If you have a few minutes at work, or you have like a lot of downtime, you could even do it at work a little bit or something, because
Well, when
they're
I'm on
lightweight. They
travel
can fit in the
rotation,
bag.
when I'm on travel
Uh-huh.
rotations with the team, the hotels don't always have a gym in them. So
Oh,
sometimes I'm just doing that in my hotel room because I don't have access to a gym.
okay. Well, uh, let's see. We did that. We covered that. I'm looking at my notes real quick here. Okay, I've got that. Got that copied down. Okay, well, we're at the half-hour mark, so let's come back to this and see what the community is saying. To remind you guys, if you would like me to read out any questions, of course, paid chats will, of course, get a preferential treatment because I need money. You can donate by Cash App, PayPal, and Entropy primarily. Entropy is the pinned comment in the YouTube chat, and I'm putting in the other ways that you can send paid chats right now, which is Cash App and my PayPal here. And let's see, I have to put them in different places. There we go, and there we go. So the community engagement we have first is actually a SubscribeStar tip from earlier today before we started streaming. Over on SubscribeStar, Hunger Merchant, which Hunger Merchant is that the guy who works in the food industry. Him and his family own something to do with the food industry, but I have to leave it vague because he doesn't want to be doxxed. But he donated $60 to help you with the laptop and plumbing issues. And if you guys remember, he was on the stream last night. Him and his family are also having to deal with the plumbing issue at their house. So he wanted to financially help with that. Deeply appreciate it, my friend. And then over on Entropy today, just a few minutes ago, Mrs. Jess Horst, who I was just talking about, sent, wow, a big donation, $40. Thank you so much, sister. She says, hail. That's all she said. Well, hail to you. Hail, folk, hail fitness. Let's all get healthy and be stronger and better together. So No community engagement or questions for you yet, but keep them coming, everybody. And remember, if you don't want to spend money, you can still ask questions to my guest. Just use the question widget over on Entropy, and I will read those out as well. You don't have to give me money for me to read out questions and stuff to my guests. I just appreciate it. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and move back to the conversation we were having about weights, resistance bands, etc. Is there anything else that you want to add to this for beginners or just general fitness that Americans can and should be doing for their physical health? Anything else that you can mention or that you think we need to know about physical fitness right now?
At the same time, that's pretty much everything. I mean, get out, go walking, just do what you are going to enjoy. Even if all you do is yoga, do something. Do
Yeah,
something.
something
Move.
like Don the Pleb always says, something's better than nothing.
Well, and also you have to understand there are people that have disabilities, other issues. Time can be a constraint. So
Or
anything
have a lot
you
of
do,
children. Having a lot
yeah,
of children
anything that you can do in the time that you have and carve out the time, even if it's just a half hour a day to go for a walk, get up and move.
That's how I started, actually. I wanted to get back in shape. So about 3 years ago, I didn't have access to a gym. Things were looking really dark for me. And so I just started to clear my head. I started walking outside a lot. And then during the lockdowns, I was already deep into that. And I was like, I'm just going to do this for my regular fitness. So now every day, I would say, except for Sunday mornings because of having to travel to see my mom and go to church with her, pretty much 5 or 6 days a week, I spend about an hour of my morning outside walking. And that's really helped me get in better shape, just walking for 30 or 40 minutes a day. It really is. It's a big difference if you do it a lot.
It is. And to address Victorian time traveler, yes, it's great to learn to do those exercises. But again, it's the thing of people's access to equipment. If you don't have access to equipment, then learning to do those isn't going to help you. It's doing
And
what you can. If you,
one of the
yeah,
things I learned when I was younger, because I had a lot of guy friends because I was into martial arts and I like sports and stuff. And a lot of my guy friends, they learned the hard way that wanting to deadlift and do lots of weight stuff, it was really easy to hurt yourself if you didn't have a proper trainer or know what you were doing getting involved with that stuff. And so that's another reason that I'm not that I don't know if telling people to get involved with deadlifting and squats and stuff is always good. And keep in mind, I'm a very effeminate eunuch, and most of my life experience is as a woman. So, I don't really give, I guess, reliable man advice on this channel. So maybe this fitness stuff is more geared towards weak people, women, and housewives today. I don't know, but it
well,
just
it's
seems
it's
like
it's
to me
absolute
getting involved
beginners
with
that
that
have
stuff.
never done
Yeah,
anything. Absolute beginners that have never done
yeah.
anything. And he has great advice as long as you have the foundation. If you have the
Okay.
foundation where you've learned through body weight exercises, the proper form, get your form down first and then get into that. But if you don't have any equipment, I would start straight with the foundation, learn the movements, and once you get the form down to a point where it's impeccable, start adding weights. And then you can get into that stuff. But you're correct. I've seen so many form issues that causes all kinds of issues, and especially deadlifts. I can't tell you how many people have injured their lower back because their form is trash.
Mm, mm. Well, I appreciate you responding to Victorian Time Traveler there. I don't see any other questions to get to right now. So, um, let's uh, let's wrap up on the physical fitness thing with talking about scheduling. When it comes to people who want to get into better shape using the Tabata techniques, maybe using the resistance bands, using the daily or whenever you can walking just to go for a walk. When it comes to the techniques or just the practices that you talked about today, what's a good schedule? Maybe 30 minutes every day or spreading it out 3 days a week to start with? Maybe, Monday, Wednesday, Friday type of thing. What would you recommend for scheduling around
I
this?
would
And give,
start
give
with
me, give me some
I would start with the Monday, Wednesday, Friday. That's a great way to start. Is 3 days a week so that you get
Okay.
into a routine, and go with what your time schedule allows. For me, I work out in the morning before I do anything else, and the reason why is because when I come home at night, I am dead tired. Um, yeah, so uh, I'll make excuses. So I wake up a little earlier in the morning, do my thing, and you don't need a lot of time. You can 30 minutes to an hour. That's all you
Okay.
need. My personal schedule is 6 days a week with Saturday as a rest day. I
Okay.
do, I alternate weight training with my
Shabbat
cardio days.
shalom.
I alternate I'll do one day of weights, next day is cardio. I don't combine the two just because for me that doesn't work very well. And so that's my 6 days a week. And then, you know, that's just it. And what I do is I will alternate. I do push pull legs. That's my split. And
Okay.
I alternate between mass, which is high weight, low rep, and high intensity interval training for my cardio. And then I will do a month of volume, which is low weight, high rep to fatigue. And then I do like steady state cardio for the other 3 days. So that's just
Okay.
that's my basic routine. But again, I do this
But
for a
for
living.
beginners,
So
obviously, beginners might not
yeah.
want to jump in and do it that often. So 2 or 3 days a week, you think is good? Maybe like
Usually when I get clients and I get like, when, Joe Normie comes to me, we're doing about 3 days a week of combination cardio calisthenic, like, you know, that kind of stuff.
okay.
So
Um,
the stuff we discussed.
all right. Then I think I'll start doing that then because I'm going to learn about these Tabata techniques. I'm getting tongue tied here. I'm excited. The kind of exercises I did when I was young for martial arts, I've been recapturing lately by trying to repeat some of the stretching and the cardio. I'm gonna adapt what I used to do when I was younger with the newer stuff, with this Tabata stuff you've shared. I'm gonna get one of these resistance bands, and I'm gonna let you know how that goes. And if you would like to, maybe every 2 months, every 3 months, we can do a health and fitness update where we get together and do a stream like this and talk. And I can share what I've been doing. Would you enjoy that?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, then here in a month or two, then I'll get back with you, and maybe around October or maybe after we have our camping trip this fall, maybe you can come on the community stream with us again, and if you can fit it into your schedule. But anyway, we have one final thing about the fitness equipment over on Odyssey. Um, uh, Majin Bahamut says, "What do you think about the X3 bar? He thinks, or he or she thinks, the X3 bar is amazing. They say, or he says, 2 car wrecks, and it got me back to full strength and beyond. Wanted me to ask you about the X3 bar
I have
resistance
something
gym.
like it that I use my resistance bands on. So it's a cheaper version of like a barbell, and you just attach
Okay,
the resistance bands to it. I have a no name knockoff, but I'm familiar with the X3, and I have a no name knockoff, and I think it's great. You can,
okay,
and especially if you get yourself a step deck, which is kind of like a combination stepper and bench, you can actually hook the
okay,
bands into it and use the barbell that way. So it's a
okay.
similar system. So I do actually have
That
one, and
sounds
that's
a
how I
little.
do.
That sounds a little pricier. Like I'm assuming that's what, several $100s, but less than
Yeah.
1,000, something like that. Okay,
I think it's like 200 or something, but it's
okay,
basically just a bar with two carabiner clips on the end of it, so that you can just clip your pull up bands into it. The one I have, I think I paid $25 for, and it's a knockoff. It's not an X3, but I use it because I don't have access to a lat pull down. So that's what I do in place of a lat pull down, is I use the bar.
okay, okay. Cool. Well, that was a wonderful discussion. I learned a lot. I'm inspired to try some new things. I have good words to search for, and even a cheap piece of equipment to order. I'm going to get some of those low price resistance bands you mentioned. I'm definitely going to do that. So, you guys are welcome to still send in questions about fitness and fitness equipment. But now we're going to move to the second part of the stream, which I wanted to talk to you about diet, because I think diet is the most important thing about health and fitness. And I wanted to get some opinions from you about diet. And the notes I have here to talk to you about is um, ask about the food and cooking choices available to people in America and what you think is a good functional diet and food purchasing routine for regular people. So share with me a little bit about how you would advise people on diet that just want to be not necessarily bodybuilders or in peak sports conditioning, but just Americans who want to live and eat healthily. Tell me some advice you have on that.
Well, one of the things I normally do with clients is we do a form of elimination diet where basically you take all the processed foods out of your diet for a period of time and you try to get foods as close to uh, maybe it's their natural form isn't the best way to say it, but what you do is you have a piece of chicken and a vegetable, and you don't use sauces or any of that stuff. You just use your basic cabinetry spices. So, um, like have a banana for breakfast, or just instead of that instant oatmeal. And yeah,
Okay.
it's just the biggest problem in the American diet is a lot of the foods are severely overprocessed. You've got, you know, overprocessed flours. You have,
Yeah, American packaged food from the store is full of high fructose corn syrup, wheat flour,
yep, processed
soybean
sugar.
stuff, processed sugar, all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh yes, and soybean is using everything as a filler. So it's start off by reading labels and trying to do food prep for yourself. I mean, every Sunday evening I go and I make my food for the week. I freeze half of it and I put half of it in the fridge. And I do things like, for me, I've learned what works for me and what doesn't. And again, it's all mostly trial and error.
Right.
But getting rid of those processed foods is why things like paleo and keto and all of those fad diets, they work, because they're basically elimination diets that take all of
Yeah.
that crap out of your diet. And
Yeah.
most people do better with less carbohydrates. The American diet, the problem with the food pyramid is that it was designed by the USDA to sell crops. So
Yeah.
you don't need that much bread and stuff in your diet. If you do have carbohydrates, have them come from things like broccoli. Have them come from, fruits. Just
Most of
stuff
the
you
carbs I get are from tomatoes and peppers I eat.
yeah, for me it's mostly through fruits and vegetables that I get most of my carbohydrates.
I don't
We
do a
can
lot of bread or tortillas or noodles. I don't do much of that anymore.
Many people do far too much of it. Like there's so much pasta in the American diet and
Oh
rice as
no.
filler. It's just far too much of it. You don't need that much. If you're going to get it from something like beans. You know, just good. The quality of the carbohydrates is what's important, not necessarily the fact that you have them. And a good way is to test your macros, which is carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. The best ratio for most people is about 20% carbohydrate, 30% protein, and about 50% protein and 30% fat. So
Okay.
that's how we need far less carbohydrates than the food pyramid tells us we need. And it was outdated by the time it was even rolled out. And the problem is it's so ingrained in American culture that trying to, and they also, it's become almost like a cultural icon, and people just they won't let go of it. They just won't let
Okay.
go of it.
Well, I thankfully, due to my hatred and mistrust of the government, I have rejected the food pyramid since I was young. One of the things I'm thankful for with my hillbilly upbringing here in Appalachia is I was raised to never trust the government and to shoot anybody who says they're from the bank. So now that's of course that's extreme. That's kidding. But um, one of the things that I thankfully grew up under the auspice of was don't trust people when it comes to food and your livelihood who are also seeking to profit from it is basically what I meant by that. So and also a lot of the people that I was raised around were big into sports and fitness, and about half the men in my family are military guys, and some of them are really into health and fitness. And of course, I was into martial arts for like 15 years. And I knew that eating high protein, low carb was good anyway. And I've taken pretty good care of myself throughout my life. I love to eat. So, of course, I probably eat more barbecue ribs and hamburgers than I should, like most Americans. But for the most part, I live on a pretty good diet. I make myself pork chops, lean pork I buy locally. I eat a bit of chicken. I love fish. There's bass and trout that I can get from local hatcheries and stuff. And when I have the money for it, I like to get high quality ahi tuna, high quality salmon, that kind of thing. But that's a bit out of my price range these days. But
Oh, I love me
I
a piece
also,
of salmon.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Oh my God. I love blackened salmon on a Caesar salad. That's like the best thing in the universe. Anyway, um, the things that I eat a lot of, I eat 1 or 2 eggs a day. I usually have pork or chicken that I prepare myself every day, and I eat a lot of I guess you'd call them regular soup beans, tomatoes, a little bit of carrots and broccoli because I eat with my mother a lot, but that's not really my main thing for vegetables. I love bell peppers, jalapenos, green chilies, tomatoes, and red onions. I eat a lot of those. Do you think that I should cut out eating a lot of those, or any of those quote unquote dangerous carb
No, those
foods or
are those
anything?
are those are all fine. No, dangerous
Okay.
carbs are the ones that are overprocessed because what happens
Okay.
with the
Okay.
overprocessed foods and is that they work against the hormone ghrelin, which is what makes you feel like you're hungry. So with the overprocessed foods, they cause an overproduction of the ghrelin, which makes you feel like you need to eat more than you do. It makes you more hungry faster, which is why you have those with the processed sugars. You feel like you have that crash.
Okay.
That
Okay.
that's what happens with those processed foods. When
So
you do that
that's why, like,
with a
if I
piece of
eat, make
fruit,
it.
you don't get that. With a piece of
Yeah,
fruit, you don't get that.
I've noticed that when I cook for myself, I can make just like a quick little stir fry in a pan of a lean pork chop chopped up with a bunch of vegetables, and I'm not hungry for the rest of the day. But if I go to McDonald's or whatever and have a burger, I'm hungry again in like an hour. Is that what you're talking
And
about?
that's yes, that's the ghrelin response
Okay.
because it causes you to feel like it's kind of like when you eat Chinese food, you're hungry an hour later. That's the response I'm talking about.
So it's all filler, no griller.
Exactly, exactly. And the other thing too is to get rid of the seed oils. The seed oils have the same response. So if you're
Yeah,
going to cook with oils,
I've heard health and fitness people push back on seed oils a lot, but I'm not really into that, and I don't think that I have seed oils in my diet. Explain to me and the rest of the class what you mean by seed oils and what that'll be in that we need to avoid.
sunflower seed oil, canola oil, excuse me, vegetable oil. They're all based on grape seed oil, all of those things
And
that
of
you can
course,
find.
those oils are what make things like fake American cheese, pasteurized cheese product, fake
Yep,
butter, that kind of shit. That's what you're talking about.
exactly. If you're going
I've
to
hated that stuff since I was young because it tastes like ass. So thankfully, I don't have any of that stuff in my diet.
so use things like coconut oil, avocado oil, olive oil. Those are natural oils that are much better, and they don't mess with the ghrelin response.
Okay. The only kind of oil I use much of at all is when I want to cook a little bit of stir fry for myself a few times a week. I'll use a teaspoon or less of extra virgin olive oil. Is that safe?
Yeah, yeah. I use that personally. I prefer avocado oil, but I have trouble getting fats into my diet just because of like my personal taste preferences. So I use a lot of like like I'll cook my eggs in some avocado oil, or I'll have an avocado with an omelet just to kind of add the fats. So that's why I tend to use it, but
Okay,
for no other
cool.
reason than just. And another thing to do is start roasting your vegetables and start experimenting with what flavor spices you like. Instead of adding sauces and stuff, start
Mhm.
getting used to spices. People tend to put ketchup and you know dressing and everything on their food. Excuse me.
Okay.
I think I swallowed a cat hair.
Uh-oh.
um, so they tend to use that instead of spices. And so like I love to make roasted vegetables with Chinese five spice powder. That's one of my favorite ways to make sweet potatoes.
Okay. My mother loves sweet potatoes. I make them for her sometimes.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sweet potatoes, and I put them in pretty much everything.
um, the way that I like to season and flavor my food is I don't really use salt in anything. I like salt, and I drizzle a little bit of salt sometimes on a few things. But when I use salt, I just sprinkle on a tiny bit at the end so I taste it. because I found out that
Yeah.
if you want to salt flavor and stuff, like if you're going to make a soup or a stir fry or any kind of casserole or a baked dish, if you want it to have salt to alter the flavor, you have to put in an unhealthy amount to alter the flavor. So I've
Well, and also
started many
you
years
wanna
ago just sprinkling
yeah.
out a little bit if I want that flavor, and then it's just literally like a sprinkle, just a tiny pinch between my fingers, and that greatly changes the flavor without overloading my body with
Well,
unnecessary
another
salt.
issue too is a lot of times that sodium is used as a preservative in most processed foods. So in the American diet, the majority of people have gone like the taste equivalent of nose blind to it.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
that's why personally
Well, since I
I
don't eat a lot of
recommend
processed
people,
crap,
yeah,
never really have, maybe that's why I can notice just a tiny bit of salt then.
yeah. So I would eliminate salt to begin with, just so you reset your taste buds a little bit, and then you can realize just, oh my God, this like you'll pick up a healthy choice meal. Like I'll pick it up sometimes on the side if sometimes you forget your food in the fridge and you got to go, and it tastes like a mouthful of salt to me. It's just
Oh,
that's just
okay.
even the healthier food
Oh,
has all that
I bet
stuff.
that's that I bet you're talking about the mouth puckering, overpowering, uh, I don't know how to describe it, but, like, whenever my husband and his father, they don't eat healthy at all, they have terrible diets, and they like stuff like completes and canned foods and canned goods, and whenever I try what they eat, it makes my mouth cringe is the best way to
Yep.
explain it. The over sodium you're talking about?
Yeah, and that is a real problem in a lot of the processed foods as well.
All right, so then let's talk about seasonings then, because we were on that. I love black pepper. I pepper the shit out of stuff. I like turmeric. I like cumin. Excuse me. I like a sort of an Indian curry flavor. I make Indian chicken for myself sometimes. I have butter chicken spices. There's an international Indian and Asian market that's only about a 30-minute drive from here. And every year or so, I like to get a few boxed spices from them. Uh, from what you know about those kind of spices, is that an okay thing to eat, or are those dangerous and I shouldn't use those in a healthy diet?
Girl, I love me some curried vegetables. You kidding me? It's
Okay,
the
all right.
thing. The trick is to find a recipe and learn to make it yourself. I have a
Okay.
coconut Thai shrimp that I make that's super low calorie. I use all the
Sounds good.
ingredients here, and I got it. Oh, I have it printed out somewhere, but I got it off a website like years ago, and yeah, it's just find recipes and just experiment with them. And here's the thing, you're not going to like it the first try sometimes. You have to learn to tweak the recipe, but learn to see what spices you like. Personally, I like the Chinese five spice. I like za'atar powder. I love harissa powder.
Oh, I've
And I
had
like
Satara
really
before, Satara powder before. It's good. I had that in
yeah,
Albuquerque when
I
I was
like really spicy foods too. So like
there.
you give me a habanero pepper and I can make me a meal. Yeah.
Cool.
I
Okay.
didn't get the white girl memo.
Yeah, well, I mean, like a lot of Americans, we got a lot of stuff in us. We a bit of Irish, bit of Scandinavian, a sprinkle of Jew here and there. Like we're Amerimuts for a reason. And I think that a lot of Anglos are like that, at least in diet, if they're not like that in genetics. When it comes to spice, then. Is there a particular spice or kind of seasoning that you think is not just okay, but actually beneficial in a health regard?
Well, turmeric, of course,
Now,
because
I've
it's
heard good
very
things about it, but
anti-inflammatory. Yeah.
okay, okay, cool. So turmeric would be good, and that's one of the ones I like the best anyway. I have a little jar of it downstairs right now I've been using.
Well, and one of the things you can do that's really good. There's a couple recipes you can find online. You can make a turmeric hot chocolate that's really good for the end of the day, and it's actually good to help you sleep.
Oh, wow. I think that me and Mrs. Jess would like to cook together. We should visit each other and cook a lot for our families one day, Mrs. Jess. I think we'd enjoy that.
Oh, and to answer Nancy Drew about Costco having the avocado with the individual serving cups, one
Uh-huh.
of the things that I do for post-workout snacks, because I like to portion out my avocados, I take about four of them. I mash them, and then I take an ice cream scoop and I put them in the freezer. So when
Ooh.
when you do that, you can thaw them the night before, and they don't go bad, and you can keep them for weeks if you need to. And then they're portioned out by because you just have the one little portion in an ice cream scoop is a serving of avocado.
Okay. That's interesting. That's interesting.
And then
I
I'll
never thought about
I'll
those
mix
going
that with an
together.
egg. Yeah.
Let's talk about something that me and definitely lots of the femoids will enjoy. Let's talk about yogurt. I love yogurt. I like the orange creamsicle Yoplait and the key lime pie Yoplait. I think they are absolutely delicious. Do you think that those are bad or I should cut them out? Do you think that they're okay in moderation? What do you think about yogurt?
Everything is fine in moderation. Like you're gonna like me every week. I go out to eat with the husband. We have my cheat meal. That is moderation. I don't do that every day. So, but if you're having it for a little snack, um, if you like the taste of it and you're having the strawberry cheesecake yogurt instead of having a giant piece of cheesecake, that's a win.
Okay. Okay. So
It's generally a win. It's making
treat
these
these yogurts
substitutions.
treat these yogurts more like a little dessert that you have occasionally as a treat, not
Yeah,
something you have every
imagine
day.
having them at night like a pudding or something.
Okay.
Or
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
I only have like 2 a week anyway, so it's not like it's a staple of my diet, but I really love them. All right. Well, let's see here. We've talked about
Well, I
meats.
love my Noosa yogurts, the ones that have the little crunchy things that go in them. I love
I've tried
those.
those, but I don't care for them. I like my yogurt to be creamy with nothing in it. I like um, like I said, the only one that I know that's a name brand is Yoplait, and I get it from the store all the time here because they're very, very cheap. I can get 3 for $1 here, and well, I mean, things have gone up. They're 2 for $1 now, but still, I get the key lime pie. The Boston cream pie one's okay. I get that if they don't have the other one, but the orange one that's like an orange creamsicle. That's the
Yeah, that
flavor
one
I
is
love.
very good.
I really like that one because I love those old timey orange creamsicles. They have like the hard orange sherbet on the outside and the vanilla on the inside. I used to love those when I was a kid, but I don't let myself eat sweets and ice cream and candy and shit anymore because I'd be 300 pounds if I ate like I wanted to. All right. Let's see. We've talked about that. Okay, let's talk about meats now. We talked about protein a bit earlier. Let's talk about healthiest meats, good meat rotation or a meat palette for that Americans can afford and that Americans should be eating. Um, why don't you go ahead and take the reins and talk on this? You'll know way more than I do.
Well, I mean, I would just try to make sure that you get meats that are, where they're coming from. A lot of times it's all in how you cook them basically. And one thing I will say about beef, don't be afraid to have fat in your beef. S-
Right.
just don't. But I
Well,
tend
fat.
to
We
rotate.
need animal fat. Animal fat's good for us.
We absolutely do need animal fat in our diet. And I tend to go for grass-fed beef when I can get it. That's not available to everyone, so do what you can. But I rotate between that, salmon, our albacore tuna, just not the stuff in a can. I try to get it myself. Um, I'll give like turkey. There's a place close to me where there's a bison farm, so I get a lot of my meats from them, and they're much more affordable than you'd find in the stores because obviously you're going right to the source. Um, but I don't do so well with beef that much myself outside of the grass fed. I don't know if it's the hormones or what. I do eat quite a bit of chicken. Definitely salmon. I love me some salmon.
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I have a freezer full of venison, but that's because I know I shoot it every year.
Oh, I love game meat. Venison, elk, moose.
Elk,
Like
I
I love
love
that
elk.
shit. Yeah, that stuff's great. It's expensive for me because I'm poor now, but sometimes around here, my family, I have one uncle still alive that likes to hunt. One of my cousins likes to hunt. So occasionally I'll get some venison for free from the family, but I don't go out of my way to buy it because it costs so much now.
Yeah, that's the same with me. That's how I get like my rabbit and my duck is from family members who hunt. I tend not to buy it, so
So when it comes to then, let's say people might not have access like me to a larger, more metropolitan market where there's a lot of meats available. Lots of rural America doesn't have access to that, like especially me here. Um, what regular meats uh, should you be getting, and what should you look for to both look to get and look not to get from local like regular butchers or small town grocery stores, that kind of thing. Give us some recommendations.
well, definitely don't get anything that's too lean. There's this kind of there's this weird notion that if you have fat on your meat that it's really really bad, but like we said earlier, you need animal fats. My recommendation for someone is if money is tight, go in the frozen section. Get the chicken breast. Get the slices of beef because the frozen, it's cheaper, but it's just as good. And
All
if
right.
you have to use ground beef and make dishes with the ground beef or the ground turkey. Ground is often cheaper, so create dishes around that if
Okay.
money is an issue.
I've never been a turkey eater. I've had ground turkey a few times, and I thought it was okay, but I've never
I'm
really
not a
been a
huge
turkey.
poultry fan myself.
Yeah,
I'll have a
I
piece of
prefer
chicken
pork and
here and there,
fish,
but
and
I
then beef.
definitely I definitely prefer like red meat and fish.
Okay, then let's see. I've asked about meat. Let's talk about healthy fats. I like real butter. We have a lot of real butter that we get locally here. It comes in these big bricks that you get, and one brick for like $5 will last me a month or two. So, do you think that real butter is a healthy way to get animal fat?
I think it's a very healthy way to get animal fat. We've been conditioned towards margarine, and margarine is just it's a chemical shit show. There's nothing nutritionally. No, if you're putting your diet properly, you should be able to use butter in your diet without a problem. Just go for unsalted. Always err on
Okay.
the side of
Yeah, the
unsalted.
butter we get doesn't have any added. It's just real butter, congealed or cooled or however the hell it is they make it after they churn it. I don't know. It comes in a little brick about the size of a baseball, and you put it in a butter dish. We cut ours into halves because it sits better in our butter dish. But for around $5 from the local market, we can get real local churned butter, and it's so delicious. And I don't think they put anything in it because it doesn't taste salted at all.
Yeah, then this probably unsalted, and that's just the better kind because I find salted butter is just yeah, not a fan.
Well, I don't know if I would feel that way because I don't know if I have the experience to say so. But with me, a little tiny bit of salt goes a long way. Maybe I just don't have a cultivated palate for it, like we talked about earlier. So, apart from butter, since I asked the butter question, the BQ. um, what are some other good ways to get animal fats? Just make sure that you get non-lean meat that has plenty of marbling or that has plenty of
Yeah, and
fat
you
and
can
bones to
also, if you need to do that, you can use bone broth in your cooking.
it.
Another
Okay.
thing to do is you can get it very, very cheaply is to get beef tallow.
Okay. Yeah,
And you can
Josh
cook
mentioned
it
beef
and
tallow
this
earlier in
yeah.
the conversation there.
Yeah, beef tallow is a very good way to add animal fats into your but
Okay.
remember with beef tallow, a little goes a long way because you know how with bacon and you get a whole bunch of fat from a tiny little piece, beef tallow
Uh-huh.
is very similar. So just
Okay.
remember that when you're using it for cooking.
So just when you're using lard, you don't want to overdo it. You want to use a little bit, not too
Yeah, you
much.
want to use a hell of a lot less than you think.
Well, I use lard ubiquitously there. I think lard specifically means pork fat. I think, doesn't it?
I believe so, yeah.
'Cause I don't know the specifics of culinary language. Forgive me. So we talked about fats a little bit. We talked about meats and proteins. Now we're at the point to where I'm out of specific questions and specific things in my diet to bring up. Take some time if you want to. And tell us some good diet tactics for shopping and preparation. Earlier, you mentioned that you like to make your food earlier in the week. Maybe go into that and tell us some examples of things you make for yourself to have a healthy diet.
Oh, okay. So what I like to do is I like to go through maybe Saturday night, sit there and go through and see if there's a recipe I want to try. And definitely look at, make sure that you know what your calories are going to be for the day. So, for me, I do about 2,000 a day, so I schedule everything around that.
Okay.
And so what I'll do is I'll create my menu and then I go through and look for recipes like okay I'm gonna have salmon this week or and again I go and I buy what meats are on sale so then I work my recipes around what I have so let's say that salmon was on sale and kale was on sale so I tried to create some kind of salmon and kale pesto for example that's one thing that I have in there
Salmon and kale what?
pesto so I make a
Pesto.
pesto with
Oh,
the
pesto.
kale yeah.
Gotcha.
So I make a kale pesto, and then I have that with it with a little bit of I have sweet potatoes, like I do with everything. They're like a staple. And that's one type of meal that I make. And try to find out what you like and make what you like. If you make what you like, you'll eat it and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Mhm. Just don't, I mean, well, if you're like me, you got to be careful not to enjoy it too much. My problem is I love to eat. Like I've never really had a problem with drugs or drinking or smoking or any of that. My vices, what I have a genetic propensity towards when it comes to addiction is eating. I love to eat. Like if calories and gaining weight and health wasn't an issue, I'd probably eat 6 or 8 times a day. I just love to eat. I love taste. I love smelling it. I love cooking it. I wish that I wish I could live in a big house of like 10 or 15 loved ones and just cook and eat all day long. That's my passion. I just love it.
Well, I think also too that's common. That's a common experience for a lot of Americans, that our portions have gotten so out of control that we have no idea what a regular portion is anymore.
Okay.
So start with going through, and like a piece of meat, a portion of meat should be about the size of the palm of your hand.
Right.
A cup of vegetables should be about the size of a baseball. If you're going to use fats and oils, and when you're cooking, it should be probably about a little pad about the size of your thumb. Like just learn, teach yourself portions. That should be if you're going to start cooking your own food, start learning portions. And let me get onto Amazon here. There's a wonderful set of okay. There's a portion serving set that I recommend for clients all the time. It's a portion control utensil set, and it's let me. Where is it? Of course, it's not going to come up for me right now.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
But they're utensils, and they create they're set up for portions. There's one for a portion of pasta. There's one for like a spoon that equals a cup. There's a spoon that equals a half a cup, so that you can portion everything out. So get a set of utensils like that, so that you're teaching yourself when you're portioning things out and doing your food prep, that okay, I get this much meat, I get this much vegetables, I add this many oils, these are the spices I add. So
And one question I need to ask here, and I'm pretty sure I already know the answer. When you're talking about the sizes and the volumes, like you mentioned, a cup of vegetables about the size of a baseball, your meat portion should be around the size of your hand. You're talking about pre-cook volume and weight, right?
yes.
Just making sure. That's what I figured you meant, and I just wanted to make sure for everybody listening and myself. So, when it comes to the preparation of making yourself food, do you recommend people making food when they get it? Or, I'm sorry, it's bad. I shouldn't phrase it that way. Do you recommend people go and buy in smaller portions, or should they go and buy a lot and try portioning it out? What do you think is a healthier application?
I do the latter. I do the latter. I buy it and then I cook it up and I portion it out from there.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, this stream is as much for me as it is all of you guys, because I want to live in a healthier, better way. And oh, what's I going to say? Oh, I experimented a little bit with keto, and it was a little too rigorous and weird for me, and it didn't fit with my lifestyle here with all the fatties I live with. So keto was not something that I could make work well for me, but it was pretty easy for me to do portion control, to cut out the bad kinds of foods, like, rolls and breads and carbs and barbecue sauces and all the terrible, the high carb stuff that people love around here. It's easy for me to just say no to that, but still sort of participate in the food habits of my loved ones.
Well, the thing with keto is, unfortunately, keto comes from the Maffetone method, which was created for endurance athletes. And one of the things you will know with endurance athletes is they tend to go into their fat stores to stay like a marathoner who's running 26 miles. They're dipping into their fat stores. So a lot of endurance training is super high fat, and keto is a little bit too high fat for the average American. It's more designed for endurance athletes, and it's one of those things where normies got a hold of some sports nutrition reports and kind of took things beyond their logical conclusion. So yeah, keto's great if you're an endurance athlete, but on the whole, you need a little bit less fat and more protein than keto usually employs, because keto tends to do something like I think it's like 70% fat and maybe like 20% protein, or I could be a little off with the macros, but and far too little carbohydrates. So I think that keto is definitely, it's not sustainable for the average person, and it's a bit too restrictive, and that's why people just don't stick to it.
Excuse me. Well, thank you for that input. Is there anything else while we're on diet that you can think of that people should have in mind? Any sites or blogs or anything that you think influenced you that you want to share with us today?
Unfortunately, what influenced me is taking a course in sports nutrition. So unfortunately, I don't have any websites to recommend at this point, because mostly it's just stuff that I keep up with my continued education. So it's more of my training that informs my decisions than any particular website.
Okay, okay. Then I don't have any further questions, and if there's nothing else you have to add, we're getting deep into the stream. I'm going to refresh all the sites, see if there's any donations that I need to respond to, and then we'll start saying our goodbyes and wrapping this up here. If any of you have questions for my lovely guest today, go ahead and put those either in the question widget on Entropy, or if you would like to kindly donate some money, put it in a paid chat somewhere. And I am going to check. Okay, we don't have anything new on PayPal. It just refreshed. There's nothing new on Cash App. And okay, and I'm not seeing anything new over on the usual suspects here. All right, so that's going to be it then. I appreciate all of you that were here today. We only had about 20 live viewers. Well, I guess 30 if you count the people on the other platforms as well. But that's I think some of those are duplicates, but I appreciate you guys being here. Wheezy, thank you for doing this with me. I've always liked the cut of your jib. I like your passion and your energy. And you're one of the women I've met in our spheres that inspires me to live better and to be healthier. And I appreciate you being willing to be on stream with me. And like I said, in the next couple of months, let's do this again. We'll talk about the progress I've had, and maybe we can go over some stuff again together. But we'll definitely do this again one day. So anything that you'd like to share with us before we get out of here?
No, that's it.
Okay.
I mean,
well,
we pretty much discussed everything I could think of at the top of my head, but again,
okay.
I'm used to just in the moment what I'm getting. So
well, I love talking to you. We have a good charisma. We have a good chemistry together. You have a lovely, desirable charisma. I see why people like you. You'll definitely be back on my streams again in the future, and we will most certainly be talking about health and fitness again together. And with that being said, I won't be making any morning walk videos or anything this week because, again, to remind everyone, my computer's in the shop. Lord willing, if it all goes well, I'll have my computer back by Thursday or Friday, and we can have a
there's
proper
a
Discord
question in
Dragons.
the chat of what the healthier alternative to Gatorade is.
Oh.
Pedialyte with cut with water. So it's one part Pedialyte to 2 parts water. That's what we normally use in sports nutrition because it allows the electrolytes, but you're not overdoing it. Gatorade has too much salt and sugar.
Okay. I'm not a sports drinker, so that's alien to me. But it's good to know there. I'm glad you were able to answer Nancy's question before we left. So just to remind you guys, Lord willing, I will have my work computer back this week, and we will have a proper episode of Discordant Dragons this coming Monday night. And I will keep you guys updated. If not, we will still stream again. And thankfully, I'll have access to my house like normal, so I won't have to be in the garage sweating to death. But if I don't have my work computer back by Monday, don't worry. We'll still have a stream. We'll still have people on, and we'll have a good time. But it just might not be top quality. Well, top quality for me. I know it's not very good, but we'll do the best that we can going forward. And like I said, Lord willing, I'll be able to get back to making morning walks and other edited content soon. With that being said, I love you all. Hail folk. hail righteousness. We are a good people, and we need to take care of ourselves and live healthier ways. And I hope that this stream has inspired you all to do that. I love you. Have a great week. And of course, thank you, Weezy, for being here. We'll talk again soon.